It's very exciting to be here. I'm Elizabeth. I'm a chef turned food researcher. But before I tell you a little bit about how we're saving grains, I want to tell you a little story that goes back a couple of millennia. So historically, brewers and bakers worked in very close proximity with each other. And they did this because they shared common ingredients like grain, yeast and water. Bakers made bread, brewers made beer. But you would call their working in close proximity today a closed loop circular model. And the reason is that they also shared byproduct. So bakers would give brewers any leftover bread and that would be fermented and that would become beer. There's an excellent company in the UK called Toastale that's using supermarket bread to make beer. And the brewer, who would have extra grain from the process, leftover grain, which is called spent grain, that's the magical word of the day. Spent grain would be used to bulk up and make bread. So fast forward to Bangalore today, we have about 60 to 70 microbreweries. Each microbrewery uses about 200 kilos of grain to make 1,000 liters of beer. And if they brewed every day, we'd have about 12,000 kilos of this spent grain left over in our cities. So spent grain occurs when malted wheat and barley is soaked in hot water to make beer. The liquid and the carbs come out into the liquid, the sugars and the carbs, and that liquid is fermented and becomes beer. And you're left with a porridgey mash of protein, fiber, deliciousness because it's malted grain, and there's no alcohol at this stage because it's a very early process. So we pick up this mashed grain. We work with breweries to pick up the grain on time. We responsibly dry it out and process it into flour and other edible products. And the idea is at Saving Grains to make this invisible food. Why invisible? Because many of us don't even know it exists in our cities. To make it visible and to make it accessible to communities. So we do this through our micro upcycling kitchen. We've set up our first prototype of our micro upcycling kitchen in Zumba, which is a community center. Through this, we're able to process grain, and we've upcycled about 1,100 kilos of spent grain last year, which is just a very small amount, but we're hoping to do more. So while spent grain is very high in protein and high in fiber, there's again an awful lot of awareness about it. And while we may be the first to be doing something like this, the health food market is very competitive. But the advantage that we bring is that we're using existing resources that exist and are produced within our city spaces, and we're creating new value, and we're engaging with byproduct creators to create new economic, social and environmental value from their byproduct. And for us at Saving Grains, we have big dreams. Spent grain is just the start of what we can do. We heard about coffee grounds today. So imagine a Starbucks outlet like this that makes 600 cups of coffee and uses about 11 grams per cup. That's about, say, 6 kilos to 7 kilos of coffee. And imagine the number of coffee outlets, or cheese whey, or orange peels. And there are so many byproducts that exist in our cities. The idea is to capture these invisible foods, keep their nutritious value, and present sustainable new value options to consumers and creators of food. So yeah. Upcycle pizza. Yes, so this was an initiative we started. We called it the Cereal Upcyclers Club. So why cereal? Because we work with cereal grains, but also we're very seriously serially upcycling food. And the reason we started the Cereal Upcyclers Club, and we had our first event, which was an upcycle pizza party. The idea was to use our flour, which is spent grain flour, which is an upcycled flour, in the pizza base, and start this conversation on upcycling food. Many people are scared of the word waste, so that's what we don't use waste, we only say, so waste is basically what's left when the imagination fails. We work with byproducts to give them new life. So our Cereal Upcyclers Club is a space for circular economy enthusiasts, byproduct creators, makers, chefs, researchers, designers, anyone who's interested in creating new spaces for a circular food economy to come together, share ideas and build new value for other products. I'll be happy to keep you posted on when our next meetup is, and we are happy to talk by. Yeah, thank you.
Do sign up and contact her for very exciting upcycling.